got it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. All right, so we'll start with just a couple of Webex basics. If you are new, good morning. We're here for our Canvas home-based meetup, and my name is Pam Batchelor. And so you can see Webex has had an upgrade. They upgraded on Friday. So if you are just now joining us for your first home-based meetup of the week, just wanted to get you acquainted with the upgrade. Across the bottom of your screen, you should be seeing several icons. And you can open up chat by clicking on the chat icon, which is like a little cloud. I do have everyone muted upon entry. However, everyone has the ability to unmute if you have questions and want to jump in the discussion. There's also chat if you want to put your questions in there. And I'm also going to put the slide deck link again in here. So our slide deck link actually has a couple of slide decks in it. So you're definitely going to want to make sure you have this link that I just put in the chat. And I think our next slide is going to our opening slide, which we have our home-based manager, Dr. Rob Dietrich, with us, and he's going to look over through those slides. I'm going to put that chat in there, the link. And we can turn it over to Dr. Dietrich. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, everybody, on this Thursday morning. We are glad you're here, and for many of you, this might be the fourth time we have seen you this week, and that's a good thing. That means that you're heavily involved with the home-based products and what we have to offer to help you do what's good for kids out there through our products. I do want to remind you, please do sign in, and that the link to these slides is there on the bottom of this slide, and you can see all our hashtags and @ and places to find us, including Facebook. So please reach out to us, make sure you get on all those posts so that we can keep you up to speed with what's going on. I have very talented folks who like to do all the social media stuff. Please know Webex, as you've known, that's good. We're zipping through because we know about Webex because we've done it before.
So she did that, so
we're good. If you have a chat, just move over to this one that says chat, and please make sure that we want to get answers to your questions. You can leave them in there. And home-based meetups, this is one of the most important things that we do across this state, is to get out there and elicit feedback from you, have a positive interaction with you, communicate product-specific things. Today it's Canvas, and provide collaboration between us and you, and provide you guys an opportunity to talk as well to make sure that we are in line. Next slide, please. We do have a little bit of a change to our agendas on a meetup basis. What we're going to end up doing is actually have someone from the home-based advisory speak about the product that they work with today. I'm sure Pam's got somebody for Canvas that's going to talk to you from the districts. And we're also going to offer a 1-hour training CEU that once you fill out the feedback form at the end, you will get an email that will give you a blank PDF to put your name in that you attended and you were a part of the training. And we're very glad to give you that opportunity. We believe that home-based meetups are a professional develop opportunity as well, besides just a networking opportunity, and that you should receive a CEU credit for that. The home-based team and I discussed it, thought it would be a good thing to add to our home-based meetup. Next slide, please. And there is the schedule for the week. If you missed any of those sessions, I believe you can go to those links and get to the documents that you need to get to if you click on those links. I also believe that tomorrow's link, if you would like to come to the Go Open session tomorrow, I believe you can click directly on that link if you have not registered yet, and it will take you straight to the meeting. Is that right, Pam? Yeah, okay, thank you. So please know that that is the case, but those are the meetings that we have. Next slide, please. And as you can see by the top of this, we are doing virtual meetings all year this year due to the current pandemic we're in. We're currently in September. And as I have explained to others before, one of the benefits of doing this virtually is that you hear the information one time, it's recorded, you can come back to it and see it again, and that conversation might not change by the time Thursday rolls around and we're on day 4 of the process. So I do believe it has benefits. Unfortunately, the one negative is we can't get out there, we can't see you, we can't be in the regions that you live and work in every day, and that we truly miss, and we look forward to the day we can get back out in the field and see you again. Next slide, please. And remember, Homebase is part of digital teaching and learning, and digital teaching and learning has been working very hard, as all departments at DPI have, but we've been working very hard to try to give you good, solid resources so that during this time, you are able to put high quality resources out for students so that they can have the best possible education experience. So I just wanted to point out to our digital teaching and learning website, the remote learning resources and information website, and Lighting Our Way Forward, where it discusses the 3 plans that schools are currently under. Next slide, please. And also our home base is always the first place for you to go, our home base website, for you to get all the current information you need on all the home base products. And this is just a place to go where we keep our mission in line of equitable access, personalized learning, professional growth, and collaborative engagement, whether that's digitally or face-to-face. We want that engagement piece. Next slide, please. And we have had a couple of changes this year with home-based team personnel. Pam Batchelor usually was doing Canvas, Go Open, SchoolNet, and Imagine Math. And Cami Nairn was doing Nisus and Learning.com. We have split those responsibilities a little bit. John Mayers, who is doing an excellent job for us, is now going to begin working with SchoolNet as well as the professional learning team. And Audrey Long has picked up Learning.com so they can assist you with all the needs there. And Dr. Carmela Fair, who's on the digital teaching and learning side of the house, she is working with Imagine Math, and we believe that her experience with math is going to be a huge benefit as she helps champion that product. Thank you. Next slide. And please make sure we have updated contacts and make sure that we are aware of who we need to communicate with, because the number one thing we can do is communicate to you all the information we have so that you are kept up to speed. Thank you for doing that. And next slide. And I believe Cami, I see Cami is there and she is on, so I'm going to let her talk about this slide.
Hi, good morning. I will have to leave in a little bit for another call, but yes, this is our new Nisus page. It's our COVID 2020 page. It's resources for observers and evaluators, teachers, as we're moving into the school year. Dr. Robert Faqs in Educator Support has created this page with Dr. Kim Simmons. Good resources for your teachers and observers as we are in the blended and remote learning environments, how to do those observations in those cases. Thank you. Next slide, please. And Learning.com, we're very excited. We've worked with them, and we've worked with a few of our Learning.com districts to create for you users of Learning.com some new North Carolina remote instruction sequences, and they went live August 10th. These are bundled packages that teachers can, of curriculum that teachers can assign very easily. It's a subset of the overall curriculum, so they can also customize if they need additional courses for their students to use, or lesson plans for their students to use. But in the bundled sequences, it's going to teach them, the students, all about online safety and digital citizenship, give them those initial keyboarding skills. And there are some brand new curriculum coming out. We've had a couple released that teach them how to do the online experience, how to communicate online, how to make sure your camera is on or off, different things like that. So watch for those new lesson plans. We're very excited about those. And if you want to view this yourself, we did put a link there to a recent recording we had that anybody can view if you're interested in learning.com. Thank you.
And thank you, Cami. And this is where you can find the slide decks. As you can see, if you have been tuning in for the last 4 days, you can see that this slide has continued to grow every day. If you click on those links, you have access to the slide deck that was presented to you. Tomorrow, you'll see Go Open and have all of the presentations for you. Next slide. And there is our home-based team. And probably the biggest words on that slide is thank you, because without you, we couldn't be here. And our number one goal is to provide good service to you. We are very thankful you're out there fighting a good fight every day, and we're just here to make sure you have what you need to help. So please reach out to us. Thank you, and you have a good day. Pam, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. I've gone ahead and put in the chat our slide deck link for our Canvas link today. And just wanted to update you. Let's see, for a little bit of feedback. If you would please stay muted and you have, unless you would like to talk, so that way in case there's any background noise, that's muted. Thank you. So we do have our home-based advisory members for Canvas. So our home-based advisory board, as Dr. Dietrich mentioned, meets quarterly, and they provide so much guidance for us because they are, in the field every day, and so they provide that perspective. So our home-based advisory members for Canvas, and they're not specifically just Canvas, because as almost all of us, we all wear multiple hats, right? So a few of them that we have, Danny Pyler from Rocky Mount Public Schools, Jay Parker from Union County, Jody Hawley from Cumberland, and Charles White from Lenore. And they all wear multiple hats. I was looking to see if anybody's up there, and also Dennis Fry, I see you over here. You also wear your Canvas hat as well, and you're on the home-based advisory member. Sorry, I snuck you out of the Google Sheet. All right, I'll turn it over to Christy for her to introduce the Canvas team that's here with us and get us started.
Yeah, hi everybody. So I am excited to be here today, excited that we've gotten this school year underway. And as we were talking about right at the top of the hour, we can't believe it's almost the end of September, but super excited about things that are going on around the state. Just in case you don't know me, because I know we have a lot of new Canvas admin in existing, schools that have been using Canvas, but also we have a lot of new schools and districts using Canvas. So if you don't know me, my name is Christy Borum, and I am a manager for Ed and Structure. I will work with North Carolina team specifically, as well as other customer success managers across our company. But I live in North Carolina. I'm in Greensboro. Previously was in Rockingham County. Been using Canvas for a very long time. Thanks to Dennis Fry in 2011, 10, somewhere in there. He decided to get it for Rockingham County when he was there. And just know that I have sat in most of your seats. So I was the director of digital learning, professional development, and media in Rockingham County. So I have sat in your seat. So just know that, I'm an advocate for you. I understand the frustrations, when things aren't working. I understand that pressure. And our team is just really committed to trying to help you be successful and your teachers and students be successful. So I do have Ashley with me. She's waving. I can't see everyone, so Lauren is joining us as well this morning. I'm not sure if she's quite on. She had to do some childcare things this morning, but they both actually are in Utah, but they are also part of our North Carolina team of customer success managers, and we kind of, you know that we have that North Carolina K-12 email address, and that's all three of us. So it's me, Ashley, and Lauren, and that you're going to hear from us all. So appreciate you all being here. I always like to say it's nice for you all to introduce yourselves in chat as well, just so people on the call know who's here, know who's represented. So if you want to drop your name and what school district or what school you represent, as well as possibly your role, I think that that's really helpful. We won't pause for that, but I think it's a really nice thing for you all to introduce yourselves to each other as well. Also, I feel like you're all super stars right now, so that kind of contributed to that being that intro slide there. We do have a prepared agenda, but I used to sit in these home-based meetups too, and Pam knows, she's heard me say it a million times, I found them to be one of the most valuable experiences that I had in my role as a district admin. So I want this to be, and I always want this to be, your time. Even though, we have our North Carolina monthly statewide calls where we kind of present more, still give you time to collaborate and have feedback, but we're doing more presentation. This really, I would love for it not to always be, like presentation, but more like your questions, answers, sharing. So anytime that you have something and you're going to hear us ask, often, is there somebody who wants to like share something you're doing in your district or school? We really want this to be that space. Also, if there are, things that are just, you have challenges, we want this to be that time when you try to problem solve together collectively those challenges. We have, so I think I ran the numbers. So as of the end of August, we had 1,233,000 somehow users of Canvas in North Carolina. There are a lot. I think we have 139 accounts, and that's like 97 districts plus the charters. That's not including, of course, any private schools or organizations. That's just public school units. And so there's a lot of knowledge, there's a lot of experience, and so definitely want you all to take advantage of this opportunity to share that. And when you do have challenges, to ask each other. We may not always know, because even though I've sat in your seat, I've been out of the classroom and out of the school environment for a couple of years now. So there's new challenges. Obviously, you are all facing new challenges with the ABC, so to share with each other how you're, using Canvas specifically to help combat some of those challenges is, a great use of this time as well. So I say all that to say, interrupt me, put your questions in the question section. Add stuff to chat when you want to ask your colleagues, and we can go in different directions. Yeah.
Also, we do have our Padlet. So I see some folks have been adding stuff in there, so we'll be revisiting that throughout our time together this morning. So feel free to add things to the Padlet, because I know sometimes chat can get lost a time or two, but I'll try to watch chat, and I'll also be adding things to the Padlet. So.
Awesome. And we do have a hot topic section, and that's when I'll plan to come back to the Padlet, unless, Pam, you see something that you think I need to address right away. Does that work?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I'm having a little video latency, so I'm going to turn my video off for a second, or I think I am.
I had to do that when I was sharing earlier. It doesn't like share screen and video at the same time.
And there we go. Let me see if I can turn it off.
So we're seeing the agenda slide, Christy.
You're not seeing?
Now we're seeing topic 1, Canvas and SchoolNet.
It's got definitely some latency. Do you want to share? Do you want me to stop share? Because it's...
So we're seeing the slide that says number 1, Canvas plus SchoolNet. What do you see on your screen? Are you on the next slide past that?
I'm there now, but I wasn't when you told me you were seeing the agenda. And I've just got a spinning wheel. So
Pam, yesterday mine was doing this, and I had to let somebody else present.
Yeah, I'm going to try
to do the slides.
Right now, it won't let me even get the toolbar to stop.
Okay, so I will stop my video, and I will try to present.
Okay, thank you. While she's doing that, just real quick, because I did have the agenda up, so that's good. Today, we thought that the things that have come up most often here at the start of school year are Canvas and SchoolNet, grade pass back. Wanted to talk a little bit about support. Definitely want to share with you about the new Google Assignments LTI 1.3, and then discuss some of the recent releases, upcoming events, home-based bulletin. I actually added some resources for success, so training resources that you can use with teachers, and also some hot topics. So you all have the slide deck, I believe. Now I'm able to move now. I don't know if you all...
You're seeing my screen now. Can you all see this?
Yeah, we see it. We see it, Pam.
All right.
I still see my screen and it says I'm still sharing. So,
Huh.
All right, we see Canvas and SchoolNet, how to integrate SchoolNet in Canvas at the moment.
Christy, do you want to bump out and bump back in? I can cover these few slides here.
I can, yep, I'll do it.
Okay, maybe that might help. All right, so just going over, I know we had quite a few questions since the beginning of the year about SchoolNet and Canvas, and I think it's wonderful that so many of you are exploring this integration. So I wanted to and talk to Christy as well about sharing those directions. So if you haven't linked your Canvas and SchoolNet instances, there are steps here linked on this slide. You have to request a key and secret from our ServiceNow ticket for SchoolNet, and they will reply with those credentials, and then you have to go in and add the LTI similar to any other LTI that you add in your Canvas instance. The key point is that we have to use NC Ed Cloud as authentication in order for the integration to work. So SchoolNet can only accept NC Ed Cloud credentials. So I know with Canvas, some of you have an alternate method, and that will not work with SchoolNet. So if a user who's logged in with their Google or other credentials and they click on that link in SchoolNet, it's not going to go anywhere. I did put on the next slide here a couple of FAQs, just because we are getting a lot of questions both from the SchoolNet side and on Canvas side. So once a SchoolNet assessment is created and linked in a Canvas course, students can only take it in that Canvas course. They can't go into SchoolNet and try to take it. And the grades no longer pass back from SchoolNet, they pass back from Canvas, which I know to James's point that we'll talk about in a little bit, in Davidson County there, that can just be, a communication to make sure that teachers understand that the grades, even though it's a SchoolNet assessment, come from Canvas. And so you need to adjust your assignment in Canvas for the number of points to be reflective of what the SchoolNet assessment is. And also, we do have an ongoing random error where students see an access denied error when they click on a linked test in Canvas. The tricky thing is that this can actually be caused by a few things. So I've tried to list it out in the slide here. If the teacher has created the test in SchoolNet and did not assign it to a section, they will get that error message because the test has to be assigned to their course in Canvas. Like it relies on the same section number that PowerSchool has. And then also, if it's a school or district benchmark, we have to make sure it's allowed to be linked. And then keep in mind that if it is a district or school assessment and you've linked it, allowed it to be linked to Canvas, once one teacher links it to their Canvas course, that test can only be taken in Canvas, right? So if you're giving a district or school assessment, you're going to need to have 2 copies of the test if you want some students to be able to take the test in SchoolNet and some students to be able to take it in Canvas. Another thing to check if students are getting an access denied error is make sure their enrollment dates in PowerSchool is correct. We had a few students who their enrollment date was in July, or just a random funny date that was preventing access from SchoolNet, because SchoolNet syncs to PowerSchool. So if that enrollment date is before the first day of your classes, they're not going to be able to take a test. We do have a verified workaround if you've checked all these things and the student still is getting an access denied error, that if they've launched SchoolNet one time from the NC Ed Cloud and then go back and open their Canvas course to take the test, they will no longer have any issues, and that's the issue is resolved for that user for as long. We haven't had anyone have to do the workaround multiple times, just one time launching SchoolNet. SchoolNet and Canvas are continuing to look at this issue, but it's really hard to troubleshoot it because there's so many if-then cases, and we haven't had anybody say the workaround doesn't work. So, and once the workaround has been applied, then the student no longer has these issues. So FTE status in PowerSchool is on the student enrollment screen, and you actually have to click on the enrollment. So you click on, I think it's like E3 or something like that, and they click on it, and there's the FTE box. E1. Thank you, Lisa. I knew it was an E number.
All right. So,
Any other questions or thoughts about it? Are you back now, Kristen?
yeah, I'm back. I'm good. Yeah.
FTE is full-time enrollment, Dawn.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I would say that if you have a student and you've checked all of these things and they are getting, that access denied error, before you do anything to, correct that, if you can reach out to me or Pam, we actually are trying to get some what's called a HAR file, HAR, I don't know. It's a little bit above my technical knowledge, but we know how to get it. But we have to actually have test credentials to get it for a student. And at this point, we haven't been able to actually capture somebody who's still having the problem. So,
yeah, if you wouldn't mind, yes, and I said this yesterday in the SchoolNet session as well, please reach out to me and we can try to capture that student's data real quickly, so that way the Canvas team and the Pearson team can have more data to troubleshoot.
yeah, so definitely we would appreciate that. So, y'all know how it is. So, something's an issue, but you can't find an example. So it makes it really tough to troubleshoot. So thank you so much. Pam, if you don't mind, if we're no more questions about SchoolNet, we'll talk about grade passback. So definitely know that there have been some grade passback challenges this school year, more grade passback challenges to the start of this school year than there have been in the last couple. I have, as far as I know, most of the issues that have been reported, at least that have been reported up through me and Ashley and Lauren, have been resolved. I've been tracking a spreadsheet. We've been putting your grade passback tickets when you send them to us in a spreadsheet, and I've been going in and tracking them daily pretty much. And most everything that I have seen has been resolved. Other than there are some of your teachers who are getting, especially when they have the daily sync set up, they're getting that 403 forbidden request error. And essentially, I think, I think there's some work between Canvas and PowerSchool to make sure we know what's causing it. But basically, I think it's just that the system is backed up at that time. And so for every single example, even if a teacher has gotten that on their nightly, like it's usually around 2 a.m. is the time frame I'm seeing, if they've gotten that error, if I go in and rerun it the next day, the grade sync completes successfully. Also started seeing teachers who had failed nightly syncs that were getting that 403 forbidden error pretty much consistently every night. And then when I started checking this week, they were having success each night. So I feel like that's going to improve, on our end. I know in terms of some of our systems, they're adding more servers and doing different things because of the job load that we have. Just as we honestly, even though you forecast for, user increases, how many people purchased additional licenses and how many new contracts you get, we didn't know exactly what to forecast for in terms of the usage of Canvas. And so as we find latency or we find things like that, we do continue to, increase the size of databases and, add servers, add more dedicated resources so that experience is better. But I would say that is the only issue that I know of currently that can't be fixed through, instructor instruction. And so Pam, I'm going to ask you to click on that second link, the Canvas Empower Teacher Pro grade passback. And if you want to share screen there, I've told y'all, like, this is the same slide deck I've used for years, and I try to update it every time we have an update. I was a little slow to update the new grade sync tab or the monitoring and reporting tab slides, just because it's a rolling update. And when we get there, I'll tell you what I'm talking about. But not everyone has had the update yet. So I was kind of waiting for that to be more widespread before I changed those slides, but I have done so now. When you're working with teachers in Power Teacher Pro Grade Passback, they have to follow all of these directions. They have to follow all of them. And I know, like, you know, that sounds silly for me to reiterate that, but we find almost every time there's an issue that something has not been followed. So just know, like, I put a box around this second one, log into Power Teacher Pro and open up grading categories. You must open up Power Teacher Pro to properly associate categories. And that has to be the teacher. That can't be the admin. And so that's one thing that we found was causing a lot of the issues this year, is that teachers actually hadn't really opened up those categories. And so even though they looked like they were active in Power Teacher Pro, they weren't until they actually opened them up. And that's what actually gave them an active status and made them able to be imported. So for those of you who had a ton of teachers who said they couldn't import grading categories, what we found was when we told them to go take a screenshot, as soon as they took the screenshot, they could import their categories. And that's because they had not opened those categories in Power Teacher Pro. So and my screen now is different than what it was earlier, and I'm not seeing the chat quite as well. I see there's some questions coming in, but when I saw one that said, what do you mean about open it up? Like, go to Power Teacher Pro. I don't know what it looks like exactly, but open the section and actually go to viewing those categories. So actually go to the screen where those categories exist for each section. And if they do that, we found that was resolving those issues where and I'm seeing another thing, you're just knowing that they may have to activate them. If something is not resolved by that step, that, you know, certainly, again, there's other steps also that have to be followed, you know, specifically and in order. But if, as we go through this list, if there is still something that, you know, is not working, please submit a support ticket. And we'll talk more about that. But we have to have support tickets. We have to have in those support tickets examples. So what happens a lot of times is we get a email that says see below, and it's an email, and it's like an instructional technology. So it's from the admin, from an instructional technology facilitator, from a principal, and at the bottom is a teacher that says, I can't see grades. And like, so we don't have a URL, we don't have an assignment, we don't know what the errors are. So just know that when we are going to troubleshoot these things for you, we really need to have the teacher submit a ticket from the course and actually give examples. Like, we need to have the URL, we need to know what exactly what's happening, our grades not transferring or categories not importing. And if categories aren't importing, then we really need to see a screenshot from Power Teacher Pro to say, what are those categories? And the number one point up here says verify that grading categories are consistent throughout your course's sections. So if you have a lot of teachers who are cross-listing for the first time this year, I think in the past, a lot of us, and I include myself, kind of controlled the cross-listing more in our districts and schools. But this year, with all of the great social media campaigns and sharing that teachers are doing there, more and more teachers are deciding to take it upon themselves to cross-list. And if you see over on the side, there's a tip that says if you cross-list sections, please do so before you import your Power Teacher Pro grading categories. That's one issue that can happen, is that teachers import their categories and then they cross-list, which means Canvas has no connection to the other sections, right? So if they did, they need to cross list first and then import their categories. And if there are multiple sections in the same course, all of those sections have to have the exact same categories in Power Teacher Pro. So for example, sometimes we have teachers who want to put CP courses together with honors courses in Canvas. Excuse me, I needed to take a drink. And so as they put them together, sometimes because it's an honors class, a teacher may not have the same categories. Well, that is not going to work. They have to have the same categories in Power Teacher Pro. So making sure that they have set up their grading categories in Power Teacher Pro the same in all sections. They need to wait 24 hours. They need to open Power Teacher Pro up to the grading categories and then go to Canvas and import those groups. And then just make sure that they have set up correctly. So Pam, if you will go into the next slide.
Yeah, and Christy, we have a couple of things in chat about if a teacher forgot, if they, imported and then cross list, would re-importing again fix that?
That should help. That should work. Yes, it's just that we find that that's definitely something where if you have teachers that have cross-listed sections and they say grades are going to one section and not others, then that's most likely what's happened. So yeah, the biggest tips that I can say for like troubleshooting things are have teachers re-import categories and then have them do a remaster grade pass back. And I think I saw Dawn or somebody mentioned early that the remaster grade pass back is working for almost every situation too. So we'll get to that. When teachers import assignment groups, if you look up at the three dots in the upper right-hand corner, that's what they click on to get the import assignment groups. Then they get this message that says you've imported your assignment groups successfully. Not everything is instantaneous with Grade Passback and Grade Syncs also, just know that. There are times when, it's appropriate and okay that it may take, a couple hours. We say even up to 24 hours. But if it's been more than 24 hours and they've tried to import assignment groups and you still don't see them, then that's when I would say, let's start doing some troubleshooting. But after they import the assignment groups, you will know that they have imported because they will have that icon. I have a square around the icon. The imported groups have that icon. Teachers can only pass back assignment grades for assignments that are in those categories. If they have assignments that are not in those categories, they will not pass back. So see the category that says imported assignment where Pam just put the X? That assignment did not have that category or that group did not have that icon. So if teachers have any assignments in the categories or groups that don't have that icon, then those scores will never pass back. Okay. All right, go ahead and advance, please.
I just need to say amen because I think that has been 95% of the issues. I wish I could make that icon like flash in some way.
Thank you, Corey, because I used to always say the same thing too. Almost every single ticket when I was an admin that I looked at, that's what the issue was, is they didn't have it in the right category or group. So thanks for adding support for that too. Again, that's what this first message says. Verify that all those assignments that they want to pass back are actually in those assignment groups. And then you also have to make sure that they have set the assignment to sync to PowerSchool. And so just know that they can do that in two ways, and that's on the next screen. If you want to go, and they also have to have a due date. The assignment name can't be more than 30 characters, but this is where the top image is where if they can, when they're creating the assignment, they can check that box to include the assignment's grade when syncing to school's student information system. If they don't check that box there, when they get to the assignments page on the picture below, the image below, you'll see that the first icon, the one that looks like a little circle with an X or something in it, That will not be green if they have not checked that box. If that's not green and the published is not green, then that assignment will not pass back. So they can also toggle those on and off just by clicking on those icons, right? So they can just click on those icons. And that will also have it set to sync to Power Teacher Pro. But notice these assignments are in a category with the icon. They have due dates. Their assignment names are less than 30 characters. All of them are published. The only thing missing is that not all of them have the sync to assist. So just know that's got to happen. All of those conditions have to exist. All right, you can advance. Thank you.
Christy, can I jump in with a quick question on this topic?
Yeah.
I put it in the chat, but there's so much going on there, and I don't know if anybody else is having. We have a lot of classes in our district where there are OCS students in a regular class. It's a lot of CTE classes, and there's two instances of the class. There's one with most of the kids, and then the OCS kids are in a different section. And I've done at least 2, if not 3 tickets where the teacher tells me their grades are passing back just fine for the regular section, and the OCS it's not. Somebody from Canvas support does something on their side, and then it starts syncing, but we're not changing anything on our side. So I'm not sure what's going on with those OCS classes, because at first we thought maybe it was an enrollment or a co-teacher thing or something like that, but we've not changed anything, and it starts working when they mess with it.
My guess is that they're just re-importing those assignment groups because of what I was saying earlier about when sections are cross-listed, and they have already imported assignment groups before cross-listing.
But they're not cross-listing them. They're leaving them alone as they come in the shell.
Okay, because typically OCS classes have a different course code, and so those would not automatically cross-list. They would have to be cross-listed manually.
Right.
If the course code is different at all.
When I look in the grade book, it was done. The teacher, most of our teachers don't know how to cross list, so it was Power School did it automatically somehow. They just put them all together. So maybe that's the issue. I don't know. But
yeah, you have to give me an example. Like, so if we have a ticket and you give us the ticket number, then we can look at it, and you can tell us to look at it first before like you get a resolution from them, so we can try to help you or at least give you some guidance on the back end of what they did to fix it. We can certainly do that. But in my experience, course codes for OCS courses are different, and those would not automatically be nested together in the one-to-many configuration. They would have to be manually cross-listed. So I'm pretty sure that's probably what it was and how they were able to easily resolve it. But we can definitely take a look, if you have an example before it's fixed.
Okay. I would just say to everybody in the group that if you haven't talked or seen anybody with OCS, I'd be asking some of those questions before you get to the end of the quarter, because I think it's going to be an issue.
So I'm going to real quick pause and just go through some of the chat. Yeah, so if you have some issues with grade pass back, and James, that was your question, that for tickets that haven't been addressed, then let us know. And Lauren, Ashley, and I, again, I've been trying to track them. We actually, for some of you that we knew you were having a lot of problems, we just went into your console and started grabbing ticket numbers anyway. So it's possible we're tracking some for y'all that you don't even know we're tracking, because we started just trying to make sure if there were any patterns, and honestly weren't able to identify, because we really thought there, the biggest pattern that we were able to identify was that teachers had not opened up those grading categories, because as soon as they took a screenshot, we were able to import those assignment groups. So that was the only pattern we were able to identify. But that was why we started tracking them. So I'm going back through. The rate limit error message we discussed, re-importing groups, and then doing the grade sync remastering. Absolutely, Dawn. Thank you for that. If the district has set up the categories, then the teacher still has to open them. So that's probably part of the problem. Teachers need to activate them personally, yes. So they have to open them. Not the admin can't open the grade book and look at the categories for the teacher. The teacher needs to do it to activate them. looking to see if there are any more. Re-importing, yes, after cross-listing should fix it. If the teacher delete the categories in Canvas, set the categories and re-import again. I'm not sure what Power Teacher Pro, looks like. If they should have set those up before they imported the categories into Canvas. But certainly you could delete those and then re-import them in Canvas, and that should not. I don't typically recommend that and haven't had anybody do that as a troubleshooting, but what I have had is a couple of instances where teachers said they had extra categories that imported. And I think that was prior to us realizing that they needed to open up those that category and have it open when they were importing into Canvas. But I have shared with some teachers, it's okay for them to delete the ones that were not really theirs or supposed to be in their course. Sorry, I'm still just looking through to make sure if there are any other questions about grade pass back as we're going through. The imported groups do not delete the Canvas categories that teachers created before the import, but that's a good question too, because one of the first things on the grade passback directions is to make sure that your assignment categories are not named the same thing as what you have in Canvas already. So that's a whole nother issue, like making sure that they have unique names. If they do have categories already in Canvas, making sure that they don't have the same names that they had for categories in Power Teacher Pro that they're getting ready to import. My chat keeps jumping, y'all, so I'm having to continue to scroll back up to try to get them. So if I miss one, I'm sorry. Drag an assignment for imported category. Yeah, you can drag an assignment. Absolutely, you can drag assignments. You can actually click on the 3 dots on assignment groups and move like a whole chunk of assignments. So like if you had a category or assignment group in Canvas that was created that was not connected to Power Teacher Pro and you wanted to move all of those assignments to one that was in Power Teacher Pro imported category, you could certainly just click on the 3 dots and then, oh yes, I see Sarah thank you, Sarah. You can click on those 3 dots and you can move them all at once in bulk, which is great. And so I see someone say we pushed out categories and some teachers had their own, they deleted the ones they created. So that must have been in Power Teacher Pro. Thanks for that guidance, because where we don't have that, it's difficult for us to know how to troubleshoot on the Power Teacher Pro end. And waiting 24 hours isn't after cross-listing necessarily, but the 24 hours wait is after the categories have been created in Power Teacher Pro. So if they come in first day, first teacher work day, and we're way past that at this point, but if teachers came in the first teacher work day and they created their Power Teacher Pro grading categories, and then all of a sudden they wanted to, set up Canvas too, they would not be able to import those grading categories right away. They needed to wait till the next year. Preston, I will talk about grading periods in a second. So let me continue talking about these things. We're finding that when syncing, apparently it's in all groups, categories, and error that causes. Yeah, Darlene, if there are assignments that have any of the conditions like set to sync, but something's like not right, the teacher is going to get an error. One of the things that we have in the slide deck that's on the screen now, like there's some information at the end about errors. And the very first one says errors don't mean it didn't work, right? So like just because they have an error, it's going to tell them why. Yeah, there you go. Error message number 1. Errors don't always mean the sync failed. It just means there was an error, right? So that's what they're going to see, errors if something is not set up properly, and that's by design. Sherry, I do see that you said.
Wait,
go ahead.
Christy, but so apparently it does look in the other groups, even though they're not imported from PowerSchool.
That would be because probably the teacher has it set to sync to sys. So
Yeah, no, they do have it synced to sys. So we're constantly, I'm sure everyone is in a fluid state of where kids are and what class they're taking and when they're taking it from day to day. And so typically what a teacher does is if they know what they're doing this week and they're going to sync it next week to give students time, they have those in a corresponding matching non-imported category. For example, quizzes in Canvas, and then the quizzes that came from PowerSchool. But they have it published and indicated that they're going to sync it so that they know which one they're going to be syncing the next week. And then when it comes time to sync those, then they can take those easily and put them in the category to sync. So what it's doing is it is creating confusion by the fact that it is apparently looking in places that we didn't tell it to look when we went to sync. We're holding them there. So that kind of indicates that the sync process doesn't necessarily just need those categories.
It needs all of the things. And the reason you're getting the error is because one of the conditions exists. So in order to not get that error, you would need to have the teacher toggle off the sync to sys also.
No,
So
you don't want to do that.
Right. So
okay, but I'm just saying, I got you, I understand, but that's
Mhm.
kind of, well, that's annoying because they didn't put it in a category and they're intentionally not syncing. So they just need to read that error message and know that it's because it's trying to do something they haven't told it to do yet.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great way to describe that. Yep, absolutely. All right, I think I've got most of those. Oh, hold on. There's a couple more. Cheryl, I'll look at your ticket after the meetup and I'll try to get back with you about whatever that one is. I know you sent it to me privately. Robin, when you click in Canvas, making content to make sure an assignment doesn't have to be graded, doesn't show up in gradebook. I'm not sure what I understand the question. Which do you click in Canvas when making content to make sure an assignment doesn't have to be graded, doesn't show up in the gradebook? If you create an assignment in Canvas as ungraded, it will not show up in the gradebook. And so if it's not graded and it's not in the gradebook, it should not sync to PowerSchool. Rob, we don't have a set time for when those grade syncs occur. We do have a set time for when data provisioning occurs, and that's something that, like, in terms of your actual PowerSchool enrollments and your courses and users, those are some times that we can adjust. But in terms of your nightly sync, I do not think that's actually on a schedule. It's just things process in a specific order. So there is not a setting for that. All right, Pam, if you don't mind going back to, I want to just real quickly run through because I know we're almost at an hour. Yeah, right here. All right, so when teachers have set up everything and they've got the assignment categories imported, they've got the sync to sys setting for assignments, they have things published, they have due dates, all of that, then there are a couple of different ways they can actually sync those grades, right? So in the gradebook, and notice I crossed out the first one because we no longer have legacy gradebook. Everybody's on new gradebook. So in their gradebook, if you'll go to the next slide, they just click on actions and then it'll say sync to Power Teacher Pro. It might say, North Carolina and have your school district. But there'll be some indication of this is sync to Power Teacher Pro. They click that button. Again, it's not instantaneous. It could take up to 24 hours. So just know another thing is that we don't want teachers to hit this button over and over and over again and have it, be like clog up the system, right? So like I went in recently to one and a teacher had started like 8 different syncs and they were all queued. So please make sure that when teachers are having issues that they know it's not instantaneous and that they wait for one to complete or they cancel it prior to starting a new one. So if we go to the next slide, and thanks Dawn for saying yours now says sync to sys. So this is what I was talking about earlier. We have an old view and a new view of the grade sync or monitoring reporting tab. So I've put screenshots and messages about both because this has been a rolling update and not everybody has. So as Pam's toggling back and forth, some of you have this look. And on your, in a course, it may say grade sync or it may say monitoring and reporting. And some of you have this link. But basically, both of those, regardless of which view you have, are going to give you a list of the syncs. It's going to tell you if it completed. It's going to tell you if there's some in process. It's going to tell you if there's some in queue. It's going to tell you if there was a failure. And it's really cool if you get this new view, once you get this new view, because you can get an error log that actually is really nice to download and look at the error log. But you also know that this monitoring tool error message dictionary that I have linked here, it also gives you a description of all the errors and basically will tell you how to fix them. So you can certainly use that as a troubleshooting tip. So I know the messages are kind of like foreign sounding. However, that monitoring tool error dictionary does give you, here, I'm going to put the dictionary right here in chat. The monitoring tool dictionary does give you some guidance. Okay, so that's a good helpful resource for you and teachers as well. All right, Pam, if you don't mind going back. In addition to that, whichever view you have, this is the old view. In addition to the reporting tab, which has all those errors, you also have a sync tab where teachers can schedule the daily sync. And if you'll go to the next slide, on the new version, it says settings and it says remastered. Or I'm not going to talk about remaster grade pass back to the next slide, but it'll say nightly sync and they can toggle that on. And again, either one of those will just have it set to automatically do it nightly. It is usually around 2-ish in the morning. All right, if you don't mind going ahead and advancing to the next slide. And then this is where I said, if a sync fails, I typically run a remaster or a bulk grade passback request, and that usually fixes it. If you have issues where it's only one section affected, then that's where I import assignment groups again, and then run the bulk sync or remaster. If a teacher is just syncing grades from their grade book, it's only going to sync recent changes. So let's say something got missed. If something got missed, then that is not going to sync on the next sync. But a bulk grade passback request or a remaster will resync every grade that's in that grade book. And so if there is something, and like this happened the other day, I had a teacher who had graded some assignments on like September 2nd and some assignments on September 8th, or some students' submissions. It was the same assignment. And I noticed that only the ones on September 2nd had not synced. So I just did a remaster and all the grades came over. So something happened. Maybe it was one of those 403 forbidden errors on a nightly sync that failed, but something happened to prevent those scores on September 2nd from passing back. And so when I did the remaster, it sent those scores. So this is a really helpful slide in troubleshooting anything that you see. Please advance. All right, so we have, again, just some helpful tips. Error messages don't mean it didn't work, just something failed, right? And it could be for lots of reasons. It could be like Darlene said, and it was by design. The teacher didn't want that grade to pass back yet. Waiting 24 hours after the categories are created. Avoiding high traffic times. We know end of term, 3:30 on the last day. So really bad times to sync grades. I would actually say this whole week across the whole country is a hard time to sync grades. They just take a little bit longer because there's so much volume of the grade sync requests that are going through. Next slide, please. Good tip. After teachers have completely stopped grading an assignment, like they've completely, they're done grading an assignment, all student scores have been finalized, updated, they can always toggle that little switch off for sync to sys, or move, or move that assignment out of a Power Teacher Pro synced category. That way, if you do a remaster or a bulk sync, it's not trying to send that data again. The less data that they try to send, the quicker it's going to be, the fewer bottlenecks. So if they're done, this is especially helpful at the end of a term. If they're done with all the grades for a grading period, disable that post assist just by toggling that little button and move them out of that synced category. And just a reminder that individual assignments cannot be synced to assignments assigned only to individual students or to teacher created sections.
And management skills, because we can't use what we had. We're going to have to learn new.
I'm sorry, are we having, Amy, was that a question for me? Okay, I'm going to continue. So a lot of teachers create their own sections to help differentiate assignments, which is a phenomenal, way to use Canvas. However, when they do that and they assign things to manually created sections, not Power Teacher Pro sections, grade passback will not work. But that's where you have to make a decision, like what's more important, what is the, not just for the students, but also just for efficiency's sake. So is the grade passback feature the most important thing, or is the ability for a teacher to have a section that's just, specific students that they needed to differentiate for more important? So one of those two things, has to win. So just know that, certainly understand the need to have assignments assigned to individual students or to manually created sections, but grade passback is never going to work for those. So just know that. All right, please advance, Ms. Pam. And when, and I mentioned this earlier, but if there is an issue with grade passback and, you feel confident, the teacher feels confident that, all of the boxes were checked, the I's were dotted, the T's were crossed, then submit a support ticket. That's really how we can help you. Make sure that in the support ticket, the course URL is there. If it's just one assignment not syncing, put the assignment name or a link to the assignment. A screenshot of the Power Teacher Pro categories if it's that the categories won't import. And in that, we also need to see the whole URL in the screenshot. And the reason why is because the URL in Power Teacher Pro contains the section number, and we have to see the section numbers. And if there are multiple sections in a course in Canvas, we need to see the section. We need to see a screenshot from the Power Teacher Pro categories for each section. So we need to see that URL for each section. And so just know that if you are having issues, we want to help. Where, as I said, we have a long spreadsheet, been tracking every day. I've crossed almost every single one of them off at this point. But no, you can send, Lauren, Ashley, or I your support ticket number after that ticket's been submitted. And if you only have 24/7 support, remember Canvas admin have to escalate that to Canvas, right? But if you have escalated it and you have a ticket number, send it to us and we'll make sure it gets in the right hands. Okay. Lauren and Ashley, I see y'all been jumping in. Is there anything in chat that I need to answer, or Pam?
I don't think so, but I am just trying to catch up, so I don't know if I've missed something.
So
Okay.
There's one question. Can you do a bulk disable for assignment grade passback for a quarter, or do you have to click each assignment?
You would have to click each assignment. However, last year, I can't promise this works yet, but I'm going to just tell you. I can't promise it works till we hit the end of a quarter and somebody tells me it works, right? But remember last year, Power Teacher Pro or Power School had an upgrade, and it allowed data managers to lock grading periods. And when that happened, all of a sudden grade passback failed everywhere across the state. And it was because we were still trying to send grades to locked grading periods in Power Teacher Pro, and Power Teacher Pro said, oh no, and so wouldn't take anything, not just, the grades from locked grading periods, but nothing. So we sent out a message, in collaboration with DPI, and we said, hey, make sure teachers disable the sync desist for all the assignments that are in locked grading periods. With that update, how I showed you that, some of you have an old view, some of you have a new view. With the new view, my understanding is that if you have been upgraded already, then once you hit a closed grading period in Canvas, if it corresponds to that locked grading period in PowerSchool, if that date is the same, then teachers should not have to go back and disable. Again, best practice is to disable anyway, so it doesn't try to send that data. But apparently now, and this is again, I'm kind of skeptical about saying it because I haven't seen it work in practice yet. But if you are using grading periods and you're using closed grading periods, or you're using closed dates on your grading periods, then as long as those align to that Power Teacher Pro date that is, or the data managers are locking those grading periods, then teachers should not have to manually go in and disable all of those sync desists anymore. Pam, I probably, because Preston asked about grading periods and because I'm talking about this, I probably need to share my screen. Do you mind letting me try to share my screen again?
Yeah, let me see if this works.
Yeah. Okay.
Christy, this is Preston. Can I ask a question at this point?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Because that's where we're at right now. I mean, I've got a memo out to principals, and we're talking about all this. Our data managers are going to lock their first marking period grades. That's coming up very soon. And in the past, I've left our multi-grading periods open so teachers could work and have flexibility in Canvas, and we just tried to teach them to toggle off their assignments from syncing to SIS. But with more and more people that are using that, we feel like that's just a skill we're going to have more time to teach everybody. And our principals really don't want these misaligned grades. In other words, new grades coming from Canvas to Power Teacher and throwing things off.
Right. And honestly, if they're using the locked grading periods in Power Teacher Pro, they shouldn't be able to change grades in Power Teacher Pro after the lock date, right?
Right.
But what will happen is, what we saw last year is, oh no, all of a sudden grade passback doesn't work for anybody.
So my question is, we are looking to align, and I've asked Lauren this, and she's given me good response, but I got a new one this morning. Principals are concerned. They want kids who are behind on some things because of the conditions we're in to be able to do work in Canvas. If we've locked this grading period, what does it look like from the student side? Can they still access assignments and submit assignments? Teachers just can't grade them in Canvas, right?
So Preston, I'm going to tell you, Lauren and I talked about this morning. The official documentation says they should not be able to.
So students can't even access the assignments.
Well, they can access them. They shouldn't be able to submit, and teachers shouldn't be able to grade.
Okay, that's what I need.
Yeah, I tested it with 2 different students. That's why I actually had this one created. And I don't know if you noticed, I had my close date be September 23rd too, because I actually tested it this morning. And even though I had my close date be yesterday, I was able to both submit and grade. So it wasn't working as expected for me this morning, but it also could be that because I had just created this grading period set, it didn't apply yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't mind testing it again, tomorrow, and letting you know. But the official documentation says no. Teachers should not be able to do anything that would change that grading period score average for a student after the close date.
What about the student side? You're saying the student can't even access or submit anything. Everything goes read only for all those assignments.
So so let's go here. Let's go to guides. The documentation about close dates didn't say anything about students submitting. It just talks about, actually, I'm going to not go to guides. I'm going to go to community. It just said teachers grading. I looked to see if there was any official documentation about submissions. Because again, as I tested it, and I tested it with in two different scenarios, I was able to, here, let me do this. I was able to submit as a student, but I also was able to grade, and I wasn't supposed to be able to do that. So that's why it scared me to say that it was possible yet.
Well, in that scenario, it said the close date was September 30th, so it hadn't hit yet in your marking period.
Well, I just changed that while we're on this call. I had it September 23rd before.
Gotcha. Okay.
So Christy, we had this issue last year where we needed time for students to make up work in third quarter. So we wanted the teacher to be able to access it. We wanted the student to be able to access it, and then for them to change the grade. And it did work after a while. I'm not sure what the help desk did, but they were able to go back and do it. And then we would just unlock the grades for that particular teacher. And then she would either, I don't know if she hand entered it in or she did the syncing. I think she had to hand enter that in to make a match. But because of remote learning, I think, especially for first quarter, we're probably going to need it to go beyond, or what do we need to do to make sure that we still have access to update grades?
Christy, is there a difference between, I know there's a technical difference between the end date and the close date. Is there any manipulation with the close date? Which one is it reading for that sync, the end date or the close date for that process?
If you're talking about for it's not to send grades to PowerTeacher Pro, it'd be for the close date.
Okay.
And I'm looking at this, and it says that close dates don't affect students. Students are not affected by closed grading periods in their grades page. Also, you can see it says the submission is in a closed grading period. So yes, I mean, I know we're getting in the weeds here, y'all. I think, Preston, let me follow up. Let me just keep doing some testing and digging. But from what I looked at this morning, I was able to submit work as a student in a closed grading period.
Christy, doesn't it work if you set the term past that date to keep it open, like students can and teachers can still access?
So if you're talking about your term dates, that is talking about edit access, yes. We're talking about a close date on the grading period there, because close dates on your grading period, and you want close dates on your grading period if you want your scores in Canvas to align to your scores in PowerTeacher Pro, right? Because you don't want the score in Canvas to be inflated or lower than, what the teacher's seeing or what the student and parent seeing in PowerTeacher Pro is that final grade for that term. So that's why close dates are in place, or so you can have, so that there's a final grade for that quarter and it doesn't constantly change, right?
Right.
But yeah, so what David's talking about, and this is important at the end of, like, say, semester one or the end of the year, is extending that teacher access or student access date if they still need edit access. Let's say that you do summer school. I know a lot of school systems, a couple years ago did a week of summer school following the last day of school. A lot of teachers still wanted their students to do that work in Canvas. So they extended the student access date so that students could continue accessing Canvas and working in Canvas past the end of the term. So yeah, that's definitely a good point, David. It just close dates and grading periods are a little different than the access dates and terms, but they're important. Both of them are very important. But Preston, yeah, I'll definitely follow back up with you on that as I do more research and try to test it some more.
I think we're definitely going to go with the closed dates in Canvas to match what our PowerTeacher locks are going to be.
Yeah.
I'm looking for alternative ways to allow kids to do makeup work. And just some creative ideas. I'm drawing a block. Too many wires have crossed. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. I'm going to go ahead and move ahead. If somebody, if there are other questions, we definitely have the Padlet. I will come back. Oh, I know we're at 45 minutes out. I want to run through a couple of these other slides, and then I want to revisit any other questions you still have about grade pass back. Okay. I did want to talk about support just a little bit. As a reminder, like we in February did a home-based meetup session, and most of that focused on the support process. So I've just linked back out to that slide deck. Beginning on slide 17, you're going to see all the information for Canvas support. The different packages. This is how, most of you have 24/7 support. Some of you have tier 1. If you have 24/7 support as field admin, and you can have 3, you can chat in the admin console. You can call 24/7, 365 this phone number, or you can submit tickets, or you can escalate tickets for your teachers. If you are someone with tier 1 support, all of your staff can chat our support. And also, you have a dedicated phone number for your institution that's in your help menu that all your staff can call to. So just remember that. Just here's some guidance on navigating in that support ticket admin console, and just I wanted to make sure all of you remember that this guidance was here for if you needed to revisit that, because sometimes we get questions. People say, oh, I don't know how to manage those support tickets, or I don't know how to escalate one. Also, again, for 24/7 support, if you have that package, then you can have 3 field admin who can escalate tickets to support directly. If you have tier 1, all staff can contact support directly. And just, as a reminder, Lauren and Ashley and I are here to work, with you all as the Canvas admin. But if you want your teachers to be able to have direct access to getting support, then, we're happy to get you a quote for tier 1. But unfortunately, as I mentioned a little earlier, we have over 1,200,000 users in North Carolina, and we can't individually answer teachers and principals. So please do, use the support process. If there is a ticket that's urgent, you can certainly talk to one of 3 of us about it, but please make sure that teachers are using support, whether that's that you have tier 1 and they're talking to our support directly, or they're submitting a ticket and you are escalating it to support. Okay. Yes, that's correct, Cheryl. The chat feature for support for field admin is only available in the new console, adminconsole.canvaslms.com. Teachers submit a ticket from your help menu where it says report a problem. Yay, Dawn, glad you got tier 1. I know you're going to be excited about that. Takes a little bit of weight off your shoulders. All right, y'all. So I want to talk real quick about Google Assignments. We have a new integration with Google. So in the past, Canvas, did our best, and we created the Google app, so the Google Cloud Assignments LTI, and I think it's done a great job. However, you've heard us talk before about how Google, I think it used to be called Class Kit or something, and then they changed it to Google Assignments Beta. Now they have Google Assignments LTI 1.3. This is the new version. It is now generally available. It is no longer in beta, because people used to have to apply to the beta program, and we heard that a lot of people applied and never heard back. But this is now generally available to everyone. And while they are still working on some functionality, some key functionality, I am going to recommend to you that if your teachers and your students are having issues with our Google Apps Cloud assignment, and they're getting all of those authorization problems, if you are not able to help them troubleshoot by clearing cache and cookies and making sure they're logged into the right Google account, because that's usually the two issues. But if you are finding frustration and they're frustrated, I'm going to recommend that you go ahead and switch to Google Assignments LTI 1.3. And Jake has just said way less errors. Yes. I appreciate you lending that support. There are some like functionality differences. One thing is that the Google Assignments LTI 1.3 does not work with Speedgrader yet. It does pass grades back to Canvas if you grade in Google, but it does not work with Speedgrader yet, but that's supposed to be coming this month. So Pam, yeah, if you want to model it, that would be great. I'm going to just real quick talk about some of these resources. There is a live stream that was just a really good overview of what it looks like and some of the differences, lots of questions asked. There are how-to resources, both for you as a district administrator and also for teachers, how to use it. The really great thing about this is Google supports it. So if you are using Google Assignments LTI 1.3 and your teachers or anyone is having issues, then Google support is available. And they only are doing that for Canvas. While the LTI is available for other LMSs, Google is only providing support for Canvas customers. So that's something that we're really excited about. If you were part of the beta program, you need to remove the Google Assignments beta or 1.1 version. Google will also help you hide the Google App LTI hours, Canvases, the Google Cloud submission one, so it avoids confusion. You can fill out a form and they'll help you do that, and that's linked in that documentation there. I will say that some people have hidden it and then teachers have wanted it back because they liked the old one better. But I'm just going to say the recommendation is to hide it. But part of the reason that teachers might be, a little frustrated when you hide it is the very last point I have here. And that's that they will have to go in and reestablish links for old Google Cloud assignments by clicking on external tool, clicking on the Google Assignments LTI 1.3, then finding that template document again, and then saving that assignment. So they will have to reestablish links from things that they use the old Google Cloud assignments. So just know that some teachers, when that's hidden, that's definitely been something that they have raised concern about. But the recommendation for the best way, because if you have both, I've been told grades are not passing back. So if you have teachers that are telling you that they're grading things in Google and those grades aren't passing back to Canvas, I've been following lots and lots of posts on Facebook and things where people are saying that as a pain point. Just know that's typically because you have both of those apps installed. One other pain point that we know is that that if students are using the app, the Google Assignments LTI 1.3 doesn't work in the app. It just pops the students out to the browser on their device. So it takes them out of that native app experience. The Canvas Google app will be deprecated in September 2021. So if you are not planning to turn it on now, certainly understand. Again, if you continue to have a lot of issues with our app, I suggest turning theirs on. But if you are not doing that right now, just do plan to do it, obviously prior to any training you're doing for next school year, because we will deprecate ours in September next year. Okay. Pam, you want a demo now? So she's demoing. Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, so I was just going to say, I'm going to go ahead and add it to my instance first. So with this one, you go into developer keys and then you have to go into inherited. And then you have to go down here and find Google assignments. And you might have to see where it says show all keys. If you click on this inherited, you don't see everything. There is more there that you can pick, but I'm going back up.
I saw it just a second ago.
I saw it. Be careful what you do when you click on view all. Right, there he is. All right, and you want to make sure it's toggled to on, and then you have to copy this code. because we can go back into our settings. And we go into our apps and view app configurations, add app, and we're going to add by client ID, which is super simple. And we just paste that number. And we want to install. And so now we have our Google Apps, and I'm going to go ahead and add it to that rich content editor toolbar. And then if I go into a course, and I can just go in here and add a new assignment. There's that. Right, and then there's that one time you're going to link me. All right. So go in here and attach, and it pulls my drive. So here's my assignment. Each student will get a copy. How many points? My due date. Can put a rubric with it if I want. Okay. And so I'll change it here because it said 100 points. And probably going to give me an error because I didn't pick a due date. There we go. Any questions about that?
So as Pam demonstrated, it's pretty easy. It looks more like the Google Classroom experience than what our Google Cloud Doc assignment did. So I think that teachers are liking that if they had Google Classroom experience previously. Ramona is asking about Speedgrader. It should be working. I don't have a date specifically, but Google had said they were targeting for September. So we're almost at the end of September, and I haven't heard that is available yet. So it may be just a little bit later. Pam, Don wants to know if you already turned on new RCE. I wasn't paying attention when you were on the RCE. Have you turned it on, or are you allowing it?
I've turned it on.
Yeah.
We did it here at the beginning of the school year. We just switched it.
And just in case you all didn't know, the new RCE enforcement date is January now. We moved it from December to January. But my understanding is they are not going to change that again. So should be January. Thank you so much, Pam. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right. So let me share mine again. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Every time I do that, it moves all y'all over to the other screen. So I want to make you bigger. All right. So just, I want to go ahead and move ahead in the interest of time. But again, that is We personally, as instructor employees, don't have access to it yet. So I can't demo it. Like, we can't demo it for you all, but there are videos embedded. Like this new Meet Google Assignments LTI has some resources here. And I know the How to Use Assignments with Canvas is a video. It's 2 minutes.
Welcome to Google Assignment.
So that's a really good overview if you wanted to show someone. Okay. Recent releases, just going to make sure that you're paying, good attention to the releases that come out. We've had some really good stuff recently. So if you go into, so the 1017 release is already out there, but I'm just going to go back to the 919 because this is the one I really wanted to show you. New analytics. Under new analytics, and please turn that on if you've not turned it on, but new analytics in courses, there are now there's a reports tab now, and there are some reports that are available for teachers, including a missing assignment report, a late assignment report, an excused assignment report, a class roster that has emails. That's like, so many teachers have asked that for years. How can I get a list of emails on a Canvas for my kids? This is a report that does that. And then this is the one I'm really excited about. This is a course activity report that gives, it's kind of like the user course access log that we added this summer to your root admin account level, or to your admin accounts. But the course activity here is for teachers, and for each object by student, it says how many times they viewed it, participated. It gives the first viewed and the last view date. This report is delayed 24 hours. So, if a teacher was, depending on what your requirements for attendance are, if you are saying that a student had to be actively participating, then they would not be able to use this report, obviously, till the following day to report attendance. However, I think this is just a really great way for teachers to make sure that students are engaged, that they're not just logging in, because a lot of data that we've been looking at previously were just logins. This is not just logins. This is, are they actually participating? And a participation will mean and yes, this does count mobile usage, because some of y'all know that the last user access report does not always capture mobile usage. This does capture your mobile usage. So if they're on an iPhone or iPad, this should be recorded here. And this is, again, this is showing, are the students actively engaged? Are they working? Are they participating? And this is a great way if you're conferencing with students or you're, meeting with a parent. I think this is great information for you to have. So it can go back as far as 27 days. Do know that's a lot of data. So it's going to take a while because it's a lot. If you think about every object in a course for students and every student in a course, then you're going back 27 days. That's a lot of data. So it can go back 27 days, though, depending on the time frame they select. So definitely that's one I wanted to point out to you. Other things, I've linked here to the release notes rundown. I've said make sure you're looking at deploy notes. Our deploy notes are here. Deploys are every other week, like every 2 weeks, whereas the Canvas releases are just once a week. But some of the things in the deploys recently have been really nice, including direct share modules. Some that wasn't available previously. You could only direct share like assignments, quizzes, discussions. Now you can direct share a module. But some of these other things, like a lot of people were didn't like the extra clicks for file usage rights, copyrights information when they were uploading files in the new rich content editor. So in the last deploy, they fixed that. If you wanted to require CAPTCHA for self-registration, they did that. There is closed caption in a video option. So when a video is embedded in the page, you can actually load the closed caption right there. So just really make sure you're paying attention to all these releases because they are, there's some really great stuff. I'm really proud of the things that we've been able to do to help support everyone. Upcoming events, don't forget we have statewide calls the first Monday of every month at 2 o'clock. The next one is October 5th. Really excited to have Danny join us to talk about templates and I know Nash just changed your name, and I'm going to say it wrong. So it's not Nash Rocky Mount Public Schools, but I've been saying that for a long time. But whatever the exact new name of your school system or your district is, I apologize for not remembering. But Danny's going to come share with us about templates. This link stays consistently the same every month. So this is the link to join us. And we do want to hear from you all. So if you have a topic that you want us to talk about or you want to volunteer to share, please fill out that form. If you haven't yet registered, we have a free online CanvasCon event on October 15th. So please do register. Those of you who've been to InstructureCon with me, we're going to be sad. Corey, Don, anybody else out there? We're going to be sad not to be in Long Beach or any of those other great venues we've been in before. But we also think that it's going to be a good substitute in the facing the challenge that we all have about travel right now. We have some webinars coming up for teachers. If you want to have some opportunities for teachers to get some additional Canvas training, and if your district wants to accept the certificates for CEUs, then they can certainly get a certificate that's going to recommend 0.1 CEU for attendance at each one of these throughout the year. We only have the first 5 lists or first 4 listed, but we'll continue to add for the spring later on. But the first one is September 29th, and Ashley's actually going to do this one. She does it 2 times, so she'll repeat it from 1 at 3, 1 at 7, and it'll be talking about announcements, discussions, and conferences. So the registration's here, password is here. So just know that you can use that and advertise that to your teachers and your instructional coaches, facilitators. You're welcome to join. When we talk about conferences, I do want to just put this caveat out there. Y'all know there's limitations to Big Blue Button Premium, or excuse me, free. There's limitations to the free version. So we're going to also highlight the other tools. We're going to say, talk with your district and your principal to make sure what conferencing tools are appropriate and approved. But these are some of the others you can use. So we're going to make sure that they know that it's not just Canvas conferences and Big Blue Button. So I wanted you to know that. Before I jump back to the Padlet, because that's what I'm gonna go there shortly. I want to personally ask for your help. Every month we do a home-based bulletin spotlight of a teacher, and been trying to do somebody from different districts from around the state. What we've kind of been doing recently is like a teacher testimonial of why Canvas helps me and my students. And so really love for you all to share with us if you have teachers or coaches or anyone that you think we could highlight and they would tell a good Canvas story, a couple paragraphs and a picture, then please do let us know. We send those out each month in the home-based bulletin and really want to make sure that we have a good representation from across the state. So please do share those with us, and you can just email us at our North Carolina address and tell us, and we're happy to make the contact with the teacher, just copy you on it so they know it's legit. But if you want to just share that person and why you think they'd be a good fit, that'd be great. All right, so I'm gonna exit out of here and go back to the Padlet. If there are things from chat that I should address first, Pam, Lauren, Ashley, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to start jumping into this Padlet. Is there anything that's come up in chat that y'all think I need to go to first?
There was a question about Teams.
Okay.
Just will you talk about it?
Yeah, sure. So in your help menu, someone asked earlier about how teachers report or file a ticket. If you have 24/7 support, teachers submit a ticket here, but then you have to go into your admin console to escalate it. If that's not something you know how to do, that Canvas presentation I mentioned from February on slide 17, it starts telling you how you can use the admin console. But yeah, so in my instance, I'm going to go from my help menu and video conferencing guides for remote classrooms. And then all of the different tools, or some of the different tools, we probably actually support more than this, but the ones that kind of we officially support, all of the information is here, including Microsoft Teams. So this gives you all the information you need to install it. Shows you how to add that app after you get that developer key, similar to what Pam did earlier with the Google Assignments LTI. Shows you, and you know, this is the old rich content editor, and the new rich content editor, I don't know if y'all saw, but this was also a recent release. Now you can favorite 2 tools to show up on the toolbar. So you get to pick as the district admin which 2 tools show up on the toolbar. But then once a teacher selects that, then they can embed that right
Chris,
in. Yeah.
Just want to jump in specifically since we're talking about Teams. You may have to coordinate with whoever is your Teams or your Microsoft manager for your district, because to get that developer key, you do have to go into Microsoft Azure, and you have to have a certain level of rights with your Microsoft system to develop that, get that developer key that you'll need. So just FYI, you may have to coordinate with somebody else in your district to do that if you don't have the Microsoft credentials.
Awesome. Thank you.
But then once you set it up, teachers just sign in with their normal Microsoft accounts and they can create meetings just fine.
Yeah, they would just go into, like, I can go create a page, new page. I'm going to show you how to do it because this is something that I get asked a lot. So I'm going to try to do this real quickly. People want to know how they can get those team meetings on the student's calendar. I'm making this as a page. I'm going to put it, you could also do it as an event. I'm going here. Oh my goodness. It's because it was showing recent. I haven't favorited these. So let me go to my teams here. Sorry about that, y'all. Workflows change, and I forgot we have a new recent list also with those plugins. That was the first time I tried to access it since the recent list was populating. So now it's just telling me I would have to, let's see, sign in with my account. I don't even know what my account is, so sorry about this. Usually it just automatically logs me in. And I have to probably authorize this. Please let me stay signed in. All right, so I want to create this meeting link. Again, I'm going to call it team meeting 924. Create it. Copy that. All right, so I'm just going to, sorry, I want to go back. Let me go back. Because what I wanted to really show you was, besides the fact I've got my meeting there, and of course I could give some direction, I'm going to add this to the student to-do list, and I'm going to add it for today, and I'm going to add it for, I don't even know what time I said, but let's just say the meeting was at 9:00 a.m. Then I'm going to add it to the student to-do list for 9:00 a.m. And that's a page. It's not an assignment, right? So just know that that is a great way to get that added to the student to-do list. All right, I'm going to jump to the parking lot. Teachers are sending Canvas quizzes or school note quizzes back to Power Teacher Pro Gradebook. There's a lot of confusion about how other assignments that are out of 100 points are going to inherently weighted higher than Canvas. So I'm not going to address the school net quizzes because if you're sending grades from Canvas to Power Teacher Pro for school net assignments, then you would just make that Canvas SchoolNet assignment in Canvas worth 100 points, I think, unless there's somebody that corrects me there. With Canvas quizzes, unfortunately, with old quizzes, classic quizzes, the only way to make a quiz out of 100 points is to make sure the total point value of the combination of the question point totals is 100. So let's say that I have a 10 question quiz. I want each quiz question to be worth 10 points. That makes it 100, right? If I have a 9 question quiz, that makes the math a little harder, and I have to make one question weighted a little more to make it 100. With new quizzes, you can make it out of 100, and it doesn't matter what the sum total of the question points is. It will automatically do that math. So I hope that helps there. We've talked about Google Cloud. Y'all, I don't know if you saw this in chat. I dropped this in a while ago. This is some, oops, sorry. I thought I pasted that before I hit enter and I didn't. This is a troubleshooting guide. With the old, if you decide you're not going to do the new Google assignments LTI 1.3, with the old Google app LTI or Google Cloud assignments, just know that these are things that almost always fix it, right? But sometimes it's not just the first one. You might have to go through a couple steps. So it could be cookies, and so there's some directions there for fixing that. This is something that I have found recently that is like a game changer, is in a course. If you have the Google Drive LTI over here, I don't have it in mine, but if you have the Google Drive LTI over here in a course, student clicks on it and it tells them to do that on the Google Drive LTI course navigation. It's right there. Then you just click on it and then you see who the student is signed in as. 9 times out of 10, if they're having this issue, they're going to be signed in as the wrong student here, or the wrong Gmail account there, I bet. But there are things like cookies blocking it. So all of these steps will help you with the old Google Apps LTI, the Canvas Google Cloud assignments. You cannot hide old quizzes at this time, so sorry about that, but that is not an option. I've read this one a few times and I don't understand it. Teachers are placing file links in the header of an assignment.
Hey, sorry, Christy, that's me. So like when you go to create the assignment, there's that HTML box for the description. And they're placing like the hyperlinked file URL right there. So like they go to insert file and drop it right there.
So I'm going to have to look at this because I don't understand. So they're adding something and they're going.
They're creating an assignment.
Okay. And they're pasting the link here?
No. When you create the assignment, the next description box that you get to like.
Oh, gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I spelled that wrong, y'all too. I can't type. All right, so they're going to get an edit.
Mm-hmm.
And then to get the file, this is the new rich content editor also, but they would go here, upload document. This is what they're doing.
Well, I'm still using the old one, but yes, essentially the same concept.
Okay. And this is for just like for a student reference for the assignment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then so when they save and publish that and a student opens it on an iPad, you said it is doing what?
It gives them, it's almost like it's not linked. It errors out and says but literally if the teacher goes back in there and remaps that, like literally unlinks and relinks, it's fine. And what I have found, it is more consistently happening with, if I'm the teacher, I've created that assignment and then I've copied it, like done the copy to another course. It's when I do that copy to that it breaks that link somehow. And so what I'm having a teacher test for me right now is placing the file into actually the module itself rather than the top part of that assignment to see if that resolves the issue or makes it better. But I'm seeing that consistently across my iPad users.
So that's not one that's specifically been brought to my attention, but we can certainly look at that and let you know.
Sure.
Because honestly, I mean, y'all know apps update consistently, and you have an update and it fixes 10 things and it breaks one, right?
Yeah.
So, so let us look to see if that's a known issue, and we'll let you know. Okay. Thanks for more description on that. I would love for some of you all to help me answer this question because we get it a lot. So the question we get is teacher passed grades back to Power Teacher Pro, and now it's added an extra 100 points. From my understanding, it is not really adding 100 extra points. It's just Power School. There's a setting that says like there's 100 extra points available. Like if a teacher wanted to give extra credit above and beyond like the assignment score. Is there someone who can help explain this better than I can? Because I don't have Power Teacher Pro or Power School. So can somebody explain that extra 100 points or how to get rid of it better than I can? Okay, my wait time is terrible, and we are actually almost out of time, so I'm just going to go ahead and say my understanding is it is not actually giving the students an extra 100 points. If you look at their total score calculation, it's not calculating as an extra 100 points. It's just that 100 extra points are available, and that's a Power Teacher Pro setting, from my understanding. The questions come up a few times over the years, so that's what I've always been told, but I don't have it myself, so I can't verify it.
Christy, I also think it can happen if your Canvas, you have the assignment set to say it's out of 80 points, and then in Power School you have that assignment set to be 70 points. Then if a student got an 80, there's 10 extra points coming to, and it would actually put it in an extra points category and affect their grade. So that's another thing that I've heard to check.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm not sure. And Gina said you saw in Canvas the extra points was actually 100 points, but I've never seen that in Canvas. So just only ever heard it was happening in Power School. So I'm going to real quickly try to go through some of these. Enrollments, all enrollment changes come from Power School. So if something's happening and students are being taken out of a class, that's because there's been some kind of change in Power School. Certainly file a ticket, and they can help you look at it and help you identify when that change was made. Parent observers, when you all want any kind of resources for parents, there are two different places. If you go to guides, mobile has the guides for the parent Android and the parent iOS. And if you go to guides for Canvas, there are parent observer guides. Those are really great resources that you can use. I personally, having been a parent, really appreciated the actual browser observer view because I got to see so much more than in the app. However, I did use the app just to stay on top of things and to send myself notifications. Like I could set a notification for when my son got below a certain score or if he had a missing assignment. So I'd get the notification in the app and then go to the observer role in the browser to actually see details. So thanks for answering that, Pam. Thanks for answering that. Most often, if you see teachers that have duplicated assignments, it's not if they reopen it. So that's not it. I'm assuming they're probably importing content from somewhere else and they have imported that assignment again. That's feedback. Yes, absolutely. That you could put in the community. That's again feedback you could put in the community also. Like if we have great feature idea process in the community. Help tickets, y'all, we do know that support has been a pain point this fall. They forecasted, I mentioned to you earlier, we just couldn't forecast appropriately. We had a lot of people who started using Canvas at a much greater rate with a lot more users than what they told us they were going to pay for. So you just have a lot of unknowns out there, right? And even with the people, you know, who were paying for the users you're using, you've got, you know, just a deeper adoption and more consistent use than what we'd seen in the past. So were they forecasted for, you know, around 300 and something % increase in support volume, not users, but support volume based on everything we were seeing. The actuality is it was close to a 500% increase over last year in support, and just, I mean, thousands and thousands of tickets. And so even though they consistently hired since March when COVID hit to try to increase capacity, they've integrated all kinds of new workflows. You know, they've put in some automated things. I mean, the truth is, as we know, I mean, support volume has just been a pain point. Now, I will say I have seen a significant increase, or excuse me, decrease, I should say, in the wait time and the number of tickets or calls in queue over the last couple weeks. And, you know, that's expected, but hopefully you're feeling that too. In this particular case, talking about the one from the Canvas friend, you know, if you have to understand, we want to make sure that tickets are handled in a priority way. So if, as a field admin from an institution, especially somebody that has tier 1 or 24/7 support, your tickets are going to get, you know, a priority. If you're a teacher, your tickets are going to get a priority. Most often, the tickets who are not associated with like an actual school district or school that's a Canvas client, they're coming from our free for teacher users. And so I hope that you appreciate that we would say our free for teacher users are not going to get the fastest response, right? So we're going to prioritize those of you who are our Canvas admin from our paying customers. And so that's where sometimes tickets who they just don't get associated with a specific instance, they might fall into that free for teacher tier, which typically in normal times get answered speedily as well. It's not always a delay. It's just right now we are prioritizing those things from our district. So I know there's a couple other outstanding questions, but we just have about 3 more minutes. Pam, did you want me to go back to the slide deck and you talk about feedback?
Yes. I also am going to take 30 seconds and I'm going to shout out our successes because I want to make sure we don't leave before we talk about that. So in Davidson County, all of our high school teachers and students are now using Canvas. It has been quite a journey, but things are moving along well. Another one is our school admin are finally understanding that we need to standardize on Canvas as our LMS. Another success that was shared is student adoption. Students and families have largely adopted the new LMS pretty quickly, minor growing pains. But we often find that when folks are having Canvas issues, it's actually rapid identity. So we were also able to use Canvas to successfully implement a full round of countywide professional development. A shout out for Passport to Canvas. And they modified the Passport to Canvas course, and it was a great way to make sure students had all their knowledge of Canvas. And student engagement. This NCPS is averaging about 90% of students accessing Canvas daily. All right, so thank you for that. All right, so let's talk about for a second on the next slide. This is slide 26. There is a feedback form. If you would like your CEU credit for today, please fill out this form, give us some feedback, and I will also send out via email probably tomorrow the link to this recording, as well as some documents and things that we posted in the chat, and any other feedback or tips. And I'll also get with Christy and her team to send out a message once she investigates more about the end of grade term and you know, locking and due dates to figure out what the implications are.
All right.
All right. Well, that was a slam. Lots of great discussion. So thank you guys, everyone, for showing. Thank you for John for being Johnny on the spot with some links throughout the session. Appreciate that. And thank you, Christy, Ashley, and Lauren for joining us and your expertise as always.
Yep. Thank y'all. Everybody have a great day.
All right. Thank you.